Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to look into the OSAD weapons. These are basically reformed versions of the OS weapons from episode 17.1, and when you reform them, you're effectively moving them from a level 4 weapon to a level 5 weapon, which means it's harder to refine, but you also have to grade them. But at the same time, these weapons don't actually require or don't really have any grade bonuses. So, you know, apart from the bonuses that you get just from the grade, you know, there's really no point. Well, the beauty of the OSAD weapons is that whatever refine that you had on the OS weapon when you reformed it, you actually still retain the refine. So if it was a plus 14 virtual bow, you're basically going to get, you know, still a plus 14 virtual bow OSAD, but then again, you lose the enchant. At the moment, there is no option to enchant the OSAD weapons. Guess it hasn't been implemented yet. Now first, let's take a look at the Beam Claymore OSAD. It's a two-hand sword, 250 attack, weapon level 5 of course. It's required level 170, so it jumps from level 130 to level 170 when you reform it, and it's for the Rune-Dyed class. Now for stats, it's indestructible, crit plus 10. At plus 7 you get 10% attack speed, plus 9 you get 20% critical damage, and 25% storm blast damage. That's actually pretty good, especially if you're running runes. And at plus 11 you have 25% physical and magical damage to small and medium monsters. I would actually have preferred all sizes, or medium and large, because we don't encounter a lot of small nowadays, but you know, I guess it's better than nothing. Now, just like the Thanatos stuff or the Adulter or the Vivata stuff, these actually combo with headgears as well. Although the headgears have not been implemented yet, we are going to discuss this, but take note, they are not yet in iRO. The Beam Claymore OSAD actually combos with the Red Clock Casquette-LT, which is a reformed version of the Red Clock Casquette. I'm not even sure if the initial item is in the game, but once you have both equipped, you get minus 1 second ignition break cooldown, as well as additional 7% ignition break damage per 2 refines. Next, the Boost Lance OSAD. It's a one-hand spear, 190 attack, weapon level 5, required 170 of course, and this is for the Royal Guard. Now for stats, you get attack speed plus 5%, plus 7 you get additional 10% attack speed, plus 9 you get 20% damage for Vanishing Point and Cannon Spear, and plus 11 you get additional 25% damage with Vanishing Point, which is actually pretty good, especially with Vanishing Point having lesser ACD and actually a lot quicker. Although it is a single target thing, this might actually help boost the damage, although there are a plethora of weapons and sets that can actually boost Vanishing Point. Now this combos with a headgear that's not yet in iRO. It's the Stripe Hat-LT, which is a reformed version of the Stripe Hat. When you have both equipped, you get minus half a second Cannon Spear cooldown, as well as 5% Cannon Spear damage per 2 refines. Moving on to the Thief class, we have the Mutler-OSAD. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a Guitar, attack 190, obviously weapon level 5, required 170. It's for the Guillotine Cross class. For the stats, you get 5% attack. At plus 7, you get additional 7% attack speed and 10% long range damage. Plus 9, you get 45% damage for Cross Ripper Slasher. That's actually pretty big, and minus 15% ACD reduction, which is, you know, very essential with that build. By plus 11, you get additional 20% damage to small and medium monsters. Now the Mutler-OSAD weapon is actually comboing again with the Red Claw Casquette-LT. You get attack plus 70 and additional 7% rolling cutter damage per 2 refines, which is sort of confusing because I would have expected the rolling cutter bonuses on the weapon itself, or if it was Cross Ripper Slasher, you would actually get the Cross Ripper Slasher bonuses on the headgear, but it's not the case. And it's quite confusing for me, but you know, I guess it is what it is. I wouldn't be using this anytime soon. Moving on to the Shadow Chaser class, it's the AC-B44-OSAD. Just letters and numbers. It's a bow, 190 attack, weapon level 5, required 170. For stats, you get 135 M attack, 7% long range damage. At +7, you get 10% attack speed. +9, you get 25% triangle shot damage. And at +11, you get an additional 20% triangle shot damage. Now, this is quite solid. A lot of triangle shot players actually use this, or maybe the Gula gun, you know, just because of, you know, the amount of bonuses that you get. It's actually a lot more specialized. But what really confuses me is the headgear combo. Speaking of the headgear combo, it combos with the Stripe Hat LT, again the reformed version of the Stripe Hat. Initially you get 15% ACD reduction and 5% long range damage per 2 refines. I would have expected triangle shot damage plus 5% per 2 refines, you know, given the whole narrative of all the other equipment. But yeah, they only went for long range damage, which does make sense in terms of damage calculation. You actually get away with a lot more. Next, the Virtual Bow OSAD. So obviously it's a bow, attack 200, weapon level 5, required 70, it's, 170, and it's for the Ranger class. Now for stats, you get 5% attack, +7 you get crit +8, long range damage +7%, +9 you get 40% arrow storm damage, which is really good, especially because that's my favorite build, and 20% focus arrow strike damage. It's pretty surprising, but you know, it is as expected. Obviously, you reformed it, you get a little more bonuses. +11, you get crit, +7, additional 30% arrow storm damage. That's 70% all in all. Now, this also combos with the Ignis Cap LT, which is the reformed version of the Ignis Cap Type K. Not just the Ignis Cap Type K specifically. It's not yet in the iRO, the LT version, but we do have the Type K version. For bonuses, it's quite similar to the Type K, the level 1 armor. So it's minus 2.5 seconds arrow storm cooldown, but you also get 5% focus arrow strike damage per 2 refines, which sort of coincides with the whole focus arrow strike bonus initially for the bow. Next, for the Wanderers and Maestros, the MH-P89 OSAD. A lot more letters and numbers there. It's a bow, attack 170, weapon 5, required 170. For the Maestro and the Wanderer class, you get 5% attack initially, +7 you get 10% long range damage, +9 you get -2 seconds severe rainstorm cooldown, which is pretty good. Just a little bit less than, let's say, Progression Rhythm, which does 2.5 seconds, but it will make up for it later. At +11 you get 40% severe rainstorm damage, which is actually huge. So this combos with the Stripe Hat LT. Basically you get an additional half a second cooldown reduction for severe rainstorm, which, you know, it's a lot better because obviously it's a level 5 weapon. You get more damage. It's a level 2 armor as well. You also get 5% severe rainstorm damage per 2 refines. So, you know, this is pretty good, but obviously we still have to wait for the hat to see how it actually does. Next, moving on to the Archbishop, we have the Ultio OSAD. It's a mace 150 attack, required 70, weapon 5, of course. It's indestructible. M attack 170, you also get additional 5% M attack. At +7 you get -10% VCT reduction. At +9 you get 30% Adoramus damage and 25% Judex damage. And at +11 you get 15% Holy Property Magic damage as well as 15% ACD reduction, which is actually pretty solid. The only thing that this is missing is really cooldown reduction for Adoramus. You know, something that you can't really get unless you actually run like the Zodiac Boots Acolyte, which was just recently released. But yeah, it is pretty solid. Now the Ultio OSAD combos with two headgears, two LT headgears. First is the Phantom Cap LT. Again, not in the server yet. You get 7% Holy Property magical damage, as well as 5% Adoramus damage per 2 refines. So this actually deals more on the Adoramus side, right? Now, if you're looking at the other combo, it's the Scorpio Celestial Coronet LT, which is not yet in the server, but I believe the Scorpio Celestial Coronet is already in there. So, you know, might be a good time if you're planning to run this, or maybe another build. You know, you can actually do it. I don't know. It's weird, but you get 7% Holy Property magic damage, as well as 5% Judex damage per 2 refines. So depending on what skill you want to focus on, you know, you can either go one headgear or the other. And last we have the Burning Knuckle OSAD for the sword. It's a knuckle, attack 175, weapon level 5, required 170. You get attack 5%. At +7 you get -1 second Earth Shaker cooldown. At +9 you get 30% Rampage blast damage. And at +11 you get 20% damage to medium and large monsters, which is really good, as well as 45% Rampage blast damage. Now this combos with another LT headgear, the Sagittarius Celestial Coronet. Still not in the server. Not sure if the initial headgear is in the server, but you know, I haven't really checked. But once you have both, you get -1 second cooldown reduction for Rampage Blast, as well as 4% long range damage per 2 refines. It's pretty solid, especially if it's a long range. I mean, you could actually even partner this with like Knuckle. What's that? Knuckle Arrow. And so guys, that is it for the first part of the OSAD weapons. It's really interesting. I mean, if you know, for me, just because I play Rangers and Wooden House, the virtual bow really resonates, but obviously it's not going to be very effective unless the Ignis Cap LT is released. So I guess, you know, we're not really going to see a lot of action with these weapons until such time their LT or reformed headgears are released. You know, that way we can really see how effective they are. But for now, they're a bit, you know, I think what I really like about them is the fact that they retain the refine after reform. Although you lose that enchant, who the fuck cares about the enchant? I don't want to have to +14 a level 5 weapon and go through that pain ever again. So if you have like a +14 virtual bow, just reform that shit, you know, come back with a virtual +14 virtual bow OSAD, and worry about the enchants later, you know. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.